Before we get into episode 4 of Murder Drone Season 2, written by me, I just want to thank everyone who's had a hand in bringing this to life. I really couldn't have done this without your guys' love and support. And if you, yes you, watching this video would like to help bring these episodes out as quickly and effectively as possible, please make sure that you're subscribed, leave a comment down below saying who your favorite Murder Drones character is, and let me know if you think that an official Murder Drone Season 2 is ever going to happen. I'd love to hear your feedback below. Without further ado, let's get right into Murder Drones Season 2, Episode 4, written by me. We open on security camera footage of V fighting Jay in the final episode of Season 1. We can mostly hear their conversation, picking up bits of V's insults and pieces of Jay's attempts to sway her to Sin's side. The footage suddenly stops on the shot of Jay holding out a hand to V. As we cut to a close-up on the appendage, we see in the reflection of the screen Ned and Jazz, who seem to be both watching this footage on the last surviving computer in the destroyed, flesh-covered underground church. Ned seems less bothered by the whole thing than Jazz does. "So there Jay was our V," he says, picking one of his teeth with a claw. "Don't let it get to you, Jazz. It wasn't you." Our half-off drone doesn't say anything, standing perfectly still and staring intensely at the other Jay. Her gaze starts to slip down as she clenches her fists. A million thoughts start to swirl around in her head, but before she can entertain any of them, she turns to leave.
"Let's keep going,"
she mutters. "Fine. The body should be here somewhere," Ned says, looking around. Jazz doesn't move, focusing on the ground before her. We get a classic anger build-up moment within the little drone, the missing side of her head starting to bubble with metallic fury as she snaps and destroys the screen with a few well-placed punches. Ned waits, not batting an eye, as pieces of the device fly past his head. Waiting patiently, he allows Jazz to storm past him, following carefully after his companion as the camera pans back up to the surface, revealing the moon and snow in all its post-apocalypticness. After a few seconds of dark screen, we move to the dark operating room, where Jay is being held. We see her display kick back on, preceded by a J.C. Jensen jingle unique to her, before she groans to herself, looking as we see the doors slide open. In walks who else but Drone Sin, all cleaned up and wearing clothing like what N, V, and J all wear. She's not a disassembly drone or anything, but she does look bizarre, being so pristine and non-puppet-like.
"Morning, sleepyhead."
Her voice isn't as text-to-speech as the Sin we all know and love. Instead, it's so normal, even Jay can't help but stare back.
"I'm sorry we couldn't save your ship.
Sin says, shrugging.
But hey, at least we got you out of one piece. How are you feeling?"
Jay doesn't say a word, at least not until she notices the words J.C. Jensen in space printed neatly into the lab coat that Sin is wearing. Immediately, Jay starts looking around and spots more places where the J.C. Jensen in Space logo is proudly displayed. Jay suddenly gets the biggest smile on her face.
"What's your name?"
Sin asks, snapping Jay back to reality. This catches Jay off guard. Looking down at her armband, we can see that it's beyond tattered, and the letter has been removed almost completely. Her hair is also as ragged as her garb, to the point where you wouldn't be blamed for assuming this was a whole new character instead of the same Jay we saw at the end of Season 1. Embarrassed, Jay tries to sit up straight as she introduces herself.
"Serial designation J, ready to serve company interests, and please shareholders,"
Jay says, looking proud. It takes about 3 seconds for Sin to start chuckling, which devolves into full-on laughter. It's sweet, the way a coworker would laugh at a joke you shared with them. Even so, this obviously doesn't make Jay very happy, who watches as the lab coat-wearing drone stumbles over and presses a button that releases Jay from her restraints. Rubbing her wrists, Jay watches as Super Clean Sin catches her breath before holding out a hand.
Serial designation Sin. Nice to meet you.
She says, her expression comforting, yet professional. After a moment or two of hesitation, Jay reaches out and shakes her hand.
Well, let's get you to the dressing room. Got plenty of uniforms to choose from.
Sin says, walking over to the door and opening it. Not seeing much else she can do, Jay reluctantly follows, not noticing a security camera carefully watching them as they leave. Its dark red light glowing amidst the clean white laboratory with a unique logo printed on its side. It says, "Centuries are us." Back on Copper 9, we see blips of past events, most of which involve N, move across our screen. The camera slides out to reveal this is all taking place in Uzi's head as she lays down on her bed. Blinking awake, she widens her eyes and leans up.
And
she stops just as N suddenly hugs her. N says nothing, leaning back and holding Uzi's hand while smiling at her. Uzi looks at their fingers woven between each other and feels the weight of some of those memories ebbing away. Smiling back, she catches her breath and pauses as she spots Thad spinning her railgun around on his finger as Lizzie texts from her chair nearby.
what are you doing in my room?
It's then we see V walk into view, moving N out of the way and leaning down to give Uzi a little hug of her own. This surprises everyone except those who watched the previous episode, including Thad, who accidentally hits himself on the head with the railgun. V lets go of Uzi, not smiling, but instead looking more than a little full of regret.
What was that for?
Instead of responding, V looks back at the others and frowns. "You didn't see that," she threatens. Lizzie rolls her eyes and Thad gives a thumbs up while rubbing his head. And stands up and gives V the smallest of smiles, though she quickly turns away from him to go join Lizzie. As she does, Uzi regains her composure and holds the side of her head, wincing as a wave of pain washes over her display. "Uzi?" N asks, reaching out for her, and she bats his hand away.
No more hugs!
She says painfully, slowly leaning back on her bed. As she does, her eyes flicker between purple and yellow, waves of energy coming off her as suddenly everything in the bedroom starts to float. Only Lizzie seems to not mind as everyone begins struggling around, moving towards the ceiling and flailing about. Uzi's head twitching and spazzing as her eyes change colors rapidly all over again. Suddenly, as quickly as it began, everything drops as Lizzie lands right back in Uzi's chair as if nothing happened. Although we do catch a glimpse of her phone, and the screen shows her latest text, which says something along the lines of, "Ah!" V and N nervously look at one another as Uzi fights back for control. Her tail leans over her, its voice silent, as V suddenly reaches out and grabs it. "What are you doing to her?" V demands. The tail says nothing, instead going limp as Uzi reaches up and shakily grabs V's hand.
I'm fine.
Getting up and out of bed. Slowly, her eyes return to the yellow and purple color we know them to now be. As Uzi braces herself, she grumbles and points at her door.
Now all of you, get out!
V, Lizzie, and Thad don't hesitate, making their way towards the door and walking outside. As they do, N leans down to help Uzi stay on her feet. "It's not just Sin, is it?" N asks. Uzi looks surprised.
How did you know?
N smiles, like a yes. This gets Uzi to smile back, albeit ever so slightly. She quickly drops it and points at her desk. N leads her over and helps her sit down at her chair. We watch Uzi pick up her mind infiltration pad thing and look between it and the remote before handing the said remote to N.
Don't go digging too far.
N shakes his head. "Uzi, I can't use this. I don't know how." Uzi puts the device on her head and points at the remote.
Just press the button when I tell you.
N accidentally presses the button before she's even finished talking, making Uzi go limp in her chair. and covers his mouth, and for a brief moment, we get a muffled scream into his sleeve before he whispers, "I just knocked out my girlfriend." Thankfully, he snaps himself out long enough to grab one of the control devices and slap it on, powering it up as we follow him into Uzi's thoughts. Cue the cool purple and yellow swirl effect thing that every single show and movie uses to tell the audience that they're traveling somewhere. Yay! I remember Tron Legacy and Sword Art Online. Woo! Editor me, remember to put a cool effect or something on the screen at this point. Suddenly, we're back in what looks like a kindergarten class with all the little drone kid things sitting in a circle and singing Ring Around the Rosie with a heavy emphasis on the ashes part. The kids are all laughing together as we focus on Kid Uzi, also smiling and clapping in a most adorable fashion. It's then we see the teacher drone, the same teach drone voiced by Liam Vickers in season 1, get a text mid-verse. He stops the kids from singing and congratulates them on their activity. Good work, class. Now let's move to our third nap time of the day. Also, Uzi, your mom died. Now everyone fall asleep. All the other little kid drones cheer, except for Uzi, who gets a horrified look on her face, as we see N in dog form standing nearby, looking equally as shocked. Side note, his dog form looks like his dog plushie, which was available on the Glitch store, but I believe is sold out at the time of recording. Yeah, you missed your chance. Good job. Embrace the FOMO. Become the FOMO. Do it. Do it now. Buy everything. ShopReferser.myspreadshop.com. The camera holds on little Uzi, looking like her world's been destroyed, and N looking like he just learned about the second most traumatic thing that ever happened to his girlfriend. Is that how you found out? N cries, surprising everyone and making Uzi scream at the top of her little lungs, or whatever drones have instead of lungs. The flashback breaks apart, and Uzi regains consciousness long enough to punch N's shoulder a few times.
Wait till I'm ready!
I'm sorry, N yells back. We hard cut to the two of them sitting in silence, still wearing the red button things on their heads, and sitting back to back. N tries to open his mouth, but Uzi glares over her shoulder at him, so he shuts back up. Back with Ned and Jazz, we follow the pair as they continue through the eerily silent mine shafts, covered from wall to wall in the fleshy bits that Sin left behind. I don't like this, Ned says, moving past a dead clump of fleshy parts that stick out from the wall on his right. There's even a dead fisheye-looking piece in the middle of it. Instead of answering, Jazz continues walking, mumbling to herself as she almost trips over a bump in the road. Thankfully, Ned is there to grab the back of her jacket and stabilize her. Instead of a thank you, Jazz brushes him off and keeps walking. Watching his friend go, Ned frowns a little before checking their surroundings and pulling his pilot hat down over his eyes. The two keep moving on until Jazz spots something. Her jaw opens as Ned soon joins her, the camera panning down as something messy comes into focus right in front of the camera.
It's her.
We pan down to Sin/Tessa's remains, covered in a thin blanket of snow that eerily looks like a funeral veil, lying in a crater of flesh in the center of the room. Ned looks up, spying several holes going up through the ceiling and back to the surface. There's small trails of steam still coming off of the body's head, which is turned away from them. Ned stands next to Jazz, the two of them just staring at the body as the silence around them feels heavy. We watch as Ned eventually breaks off and looks down at Jazz, who seems visibly shaken. Reaching over, Ned takes her hand, which shocks her out of her funk. Looking terrified at him with her single eye, we witness her calm back down as Ned offers her a tiny little smile. Gulping, Jazz looks at their hands and then back at Ned's face. We don't see Jazz smile back, but she does give the smallest of nods, and together they walk right up to the body. It doesn't move, makes no sound, and appears twisted in a horrible way from its fall. We get a sort of tense moment as Ned keeps holding Jazz's hand while using his other to transform into a sword, which he starts to move towards the corpse's head.
Ned, don't!
Ned looks down at her and releases her hand. Instead of saying a word, he looks back at the body and reaches towards it again, the tip of his blade gleaming in the dim, fleshy lighting. Time seems to slow down as the blade gets closer and closer, inching right up to Sin/Tessa's right temple. We cut to a close-up of the blade, only a few centimeters away from the snow and flesh. Eventually, we see the sharp metal make contact, poking the head as Jazz winces. But nothing happens. Jazz and Ned both look at each other in surprise. Then disbelief. Ned pokes the head again, and once more, the body is unresponsive. Daring to get closer, Ned starts poking it all over, soon standing above it and tapping its nose. And still, the corpse doesn't move. Guess the purple one wasn't lying, Ned says, using his sword hand to push through the snowy veil and check the inside of the corpse's mouth. Just then, a word gurgles its way out of Sin/Tessa's body. It echoes with great force all around them, the sound carrying its way through the air and down each flesh-covered corridor. It's loud enough to make both Jazz and Ned cover the sides of their heads as the word fills their souls with absolute dread.
Backups.
The final message echoes. As it fades, we get a final gagging sound, similar to the noise Jabba the Hutt makes in Return of the Jedi after Leia strangles him. As the final message fades, Jazz and Ned both look at each other. With a single nod, the camera cuts down to the POV of Sin's corpse, as Ned transforms his arms into swords as Jazz begins to unravel, undoing her buckle and zippers. Both of them leap onto the camera as everything shuts off and the screen turns black. The sound in our ears is that of something being ripped and torn to pieces. We have a cool transition as the new Sin, leading Jay with both hands behind her back, looks like she's walking out of the shadow of our camera and down a pristine hallway. It's quiet. J.C. Jensen in space. That kind of branding, all over the place. And Sin appears to be humming some kind of jingle to herself, as Jay can barely take in the pristine and large area that they're in. As the audience, we can't tell if Jay is frightened, overwhelmed, or in heaven. I'm leaning towards the latter.
Right over here?
Sin says, walking off to a side door. It opens, revealing a dressing area complete with clear storage blocks stuffed with J.C. Jensen in space branded clothing.
If it fits, it's yours.
Jay looks amazed. Smiling to herself, but maintaining her composure, she walks over and begins scanning through each block until finding something that catches her eye. The camera moves back to Sin, who's standing there smiling, as Jay changes out of her rags off camera. We see Sin look back the way they came through the open door, spotting something big peeking at her from around the corner. It's huge. Almost as tall as the entire white walkway, and almost blending in with it. A blank blue eye peeks out partially from around the corner, the stalker growling in a tone so low, no one would blame you if you missed it altogether. It stays there, partially hidden from view, watching until Sin frowns and waves it away. After a moment, we see this mysterious creature slink back around the corner, vanishing completely from view just as Jay walks back up, pulling down on her J.C. Jensen in space lab coat, similar to what Sin is wearing. Jay makes sure her technician pin is straight before standing at attention before her superior.
You look great.
Sin says, smiling. Jay offers the tiniest of smiles back.
Thanks, boss.
My pleasure. Oh, I can show you the control room now if you want. Or we could go to the assembly line. I've been trying to fix those for months. Or if you're feeling really adventurous, we could go to the crop fields. I love that place.
Jay feels a little overwhelmed by all the options, putting her hands behind her and watching as Sin looks excitedly back at her. She can tell she's supposed to make a decision of some kind, though none of it sounds like the kind of thing she was expecting to do.
Are there any other employees on our team?
Jay asks, respectively. Sin looks awkwardly to the side.
Not exactly. Oh, except for Armstrong. But you don't need to beat him yet.
Jay looks puzzled. Armstrong? She wasn't familiar with anyone on Sin's payroll under that pseudonym. Before she can press further, Sin claps her hands and turns back to the door.
Let's go to the crop fields first. It's crazy what the humans left behind. You'll love it.
Hesitantly, Jay decides to follow, not seeing the large, blue-eyed creature once again peeking out from where they came from, its eye narrowing.
You were looking my way. Tried to give it a chance, yeah. But my heart didn't sway. There was no romance there. You called me every night, hoping I'd feel the spark. But something didn't sit right. Couldn't force it from the start. I'm not interested. I tried but didn't feel it. I'm not invested. Can't fake it, just conceal it.